There are approximately 20 to 40 million slaves in the world today. 80% of the people that are affected by sex trafficking are women and children. Human trafficking is a criminal activity that is often seen as modern-day slavery. People are bought, sold, transported, and kidnapped. The people that do this form of slavery do it for forced labor, sexual slavery, and child solidarity. Human trafficking can be reduced and maybe even eliminated through education, awareness, and the government being involved. Through all of these points, this type of modern-day slavery might come to an end. I believe that the government, as well as the human population as a whole, can put an end to modern-day slavery. There are many precautions and things we could do to help avoid human sex trafficking. Being aware of our surroundings, as well as companies supplying their publishing, supplier, and factory list. Now I'm going to tell you more in depth about what human sex trafficking really is. Sex trafficking is the action or practice of illegally transporting people from one country or area to another for the purpose of sexual exploitation. According to Tina Fondit from Women's Funding Network, published in 2019, when we hear the words sex trafficking as an American, we immediately think of women and children overseas. They are being forced in the sex trade, who are brought to the United States for the purpose of sexual exploitation. I chose this because it is a better insight to the topic. It goes on to show that Americans overlook this problem and don't always have the full idea of what is going on. Maybe you're familiar with the image of a beautiful young Eastern European woman who is a victim of brutal sex trafficking, but do you not recognize the Bangladesh construction worker in the Arab Emirates who must work for minimum wage until he repays his recruitment fee because his employer has confiscated his passport? Well, that's usually what most people don't understand, is that it's completely different from the stereotype. This is by far my favorite point about sex trafficking. It is mainly saying that people recognize the stereotype of sex trafficking. Americans do not understand that there are many other people involved in this horrible thing. There are many reasons why people are involved in sex trafficking. While sex traffickers sell, buy, and trade human beings, there are a lot of things that they could do. They can force them to work for little to no money at all, or they can use as a sex slave. According to Amanda Perkins, RN, from Nursing Made Easy, published December 2015, human trafficking is an extremely lucrative business with an estimated net worth of $32 billion, making it second most profitable criminal enterprise in the world. I really like this point because it is talking about the realness of the situation. It says things like how hard it is to combat the problem because the victims are afraid to tell the authorities about what happened to them. From Melissa Withers, Psychological Tactics Used by Human Traffickers, published in October 2016, a multi-billion-dollar criminal enterprise, human trafficking involves recruiting or obtaining an individual usually under the gist of to help people secure promising work in another country and then forcing individuals to perform services or labor against their will. The United States has estimated that as many as 21 million people around the world are trafficked each year, generating an estimated $32 billion. This source talks about money that is made off of sex trafficking. To me, that was very overwhelming. That it was $32 billion and the government still hasn't tried to do mainly anything about it. There are so many people affected by sex trafficking, and I believe that there are so many precautions that everyone can do to help. Here are some facts about many people that are affected, but we can help destroy sex trafficking. Tim Swarens from the International Labor Organization, published in January 2018, stated that there was an estimated in September that 40.3 million people were held in modern-day slavery on any given day in 2016. The ILO reported that 25% of those human trafficking victims were children. The majority of victims, 24.9 million people, were held in forced labor and 15.4 million were forced into marriage. An estimated 4.6 billion people, mainly women and children, were trafficked in the commercial sex trade in 2016. There are so many people affected by this. There was an estimated of 4.8 million trafficked in the sex trade. This is a major problem, and I believe that the government should start doing more than what they are doing now. From the U.S. Department of State gave some reasons to help avoid being trafficked and what you should do if you were ever in that kind of situation. They stated that you should call 911 immediately and give them all of the information that you have. Other things that you could do, you could be more self-aware and you can help defend yourself, or you can actually go to a school and educate everybody on the situation so kids can learn how to defend themselves and stuff like that. Teaching people about sex trafficking will help them be more self-informed, and being more informed as a whole, the situation will make the numbers decrease. Finally, let's review about what we have already talked about. Being aware of sex trafficking because it is a growing epidemic and it will not stop until everyone is aware of what is actually going on. Human trafficking can be reduced and maybe even estimated through education, eliminated through education, awareness, and the government being involved. Slavery is a horror safety confined to the past. It continues to exist throughout the world. Even in developed countries across the world, slaves work, sweat, build, and suffer. What would you do about this problem?